everyone. Today we are going to discuss about integration capabilities of Tally.ERP 9 using XML request response framework. See, the objectives that we would be meeting today is to understand the integration capabilities of Tally.ERP 9, understand the different Tally interfaces used for integration, understand the XML messaging format using XML interface, understand the significance of XML tags used for integration. So beginning with the introduction, we need to understand the integration solutions that are designed to ensure that the existing investments in the software, that could be an ERP or a legacy or any other enterprises, remain intact by seamlessly integrating information with new systems, technologies and custom applications within the enterprise, as well as with companies with whom the business deals with. Simplicity, innovation and technology are a part of Tally philosophy, which we will discover during today's session. So large and medium-sized business use various applications to run their business, and one of the major areas that need a coverage amongst the application is the accounting, financial and inventory information. Tally's default accounting and inventory and stat compliant software used by various enterprises for in various segments. However, their need arises to discuss about the integration. Before going to the detailed discussion on the integration capabilities, it is required to understand why would we need to do the integration. Well, integration provides seamless communication between two or more systems, right-time visibility of transaction across the enterprises, flexibility to accommodate changes in the structure of business, sharing of information across the business boundaries. So this is why we would benefit from doing an integration. This diagram will help us in understanding an overall integration capability of Tally.ERP 9. Here is where Tally can act as a server or a client. Depending upon the case, it can interact with various external applications, databases, HTTP servers and web services. So today's topic that we would be covering during this session would be the Tally interface for integration, XML messaging formats, significance of these XML tags, and case study using XML request response formats. So starting with the integration, Tally communicates with the external applications mainly using two interfaces, Tally ODBC interface and Tally XML interface. Tally can act as a client or server based on situation. Tally provides ODBC interface, which makes it possible for applications to talk to Tally database. By using this interface, external applications will be able to retrieve data from Tally. In this case, Tally acts as a server delivering data to external applications. Similarly, Tally.ERP can make ODBC calls to external databases and retrieve data from them. In such cases, Tally acts as a client to pull data from various data sources. This can be consumed in Tally as per the requirement. XML interface capabilities Well, XML is the standard for is the standard for information exchange with external systems. Tally.ERP 9 supports standardized message formats for request or response and can communicate with any environment capable of sending and receiving XML over HTTP or HTTPS. Tally can act as an HTTP server capable of receiving XML request and responding with an XML response. The entire Tally data can be made available to the requesting application. It is possible for the applications to store data into a Tally database. It has a capability to interact with web services, delivering data over HTTP. In this scenario, Tally behaves as a client, retrieving and storing data into the external application. The web service capable of handling Tally request or response serves as a layer between the Tally and the external database. So here we go ahead understanding the XML messaging formats of Tally. XML messaging format is used for the purpose of integration. Here in Tally.ERP 9 uses XML format for communication with external applications including the other instances of Tally.ERP 9. The data exchange happens by way of request and response. So there is a request against which there is a response generated. Tally.ERP 9 identifies tags for request and sends a response accordingly based on the request sent. All requests and responses are used in Tally net messages containing custom HTTP headers to identify the request that needs to be preceded or forwarded. So there would be a set of XML messages that we can send as a request to Tally, and based on the request sent, there would be a chunk of response in an XML format received. Here is the template for an XML format. So the XML interface for exchanging data with other systems or with other Tally instances. The XML interface specifies the format for communication as the envelope, header tag, body tag and closed envelope. So this is the template that Tally.ERP 9 follows. Whether this exchange is with an external application or with another instance of Tally, the format remains the same. There are 3 templates created for interacting to Tally database. These templates are request template, response template and failure template. So this is a template for a request, envelope containing header tag and body tags. Header tag further has some other tags within it, and body tags has further tags within it. Then we have a response template. You can see the response template header has 2 tags, status and body with the description tag. And then there is a failure template, and you can notice the version, the status will be 0, and then the description of the reasoning of the failure will be mentioned in the body tag. Now we will discuss about components of XML request and response. Understanding of the elements of XML request, response and failure are the most important thing. So you need to understand that the how to build a request, how to send a response, and the failures of this request sent are the important thing. Envelope is the top element of the XML fragment, which is representing the entire message. Envelope further contains two sections, that is the header tag and the body tag. These sections are used for both the request and the response template. The header section will give all identification information to the recipient, such as the authentication, transaction management, payment, and so on. Header determines how the recipient of the message should process the information. Header information is classified in two ways: request header and response header. Further, the request header has four elements: version, tally request, type, and ID. So this is the header tag with the request headers. Similar to request, we also have response headers, and it has mainly two elements: version and status. The status can be -1, 0, or 1. Now we have the body tag, the second part of our envelope tag. Body tag exchanges the information intended for the recipient of the message. This section gives the actual details of the message and is further divided into two sections: description of the request response and data for the request or response. The description section is used to give the description for the message, request, or response. Description element is mainly includes all types of variable information, storage information, computation information, and user-defined TDLs. All description information is enclosed within the desk tag, that is DESC tag. There are four major tags under our body tag. That includes all the data information being transferred to our tag. Now, the significance of each XML tag. Starting with the header tags. So now the header tags has four types of tags, that is what we had just discussed: version, tally request, type, and ID. So let's start with the version tag. Version tags gives the messaging format, the version of the version of the message. The tag is mandatory tag and has to be used in the header tag, without which the message would not be passed. So this is how it is. So header having a version tag. Then we have tally request tag. Tally request tag specifies the type of request. Well, the tag is important tag as it determines the response required from the other application. Whether it is an import or an export, based on this is what a response will be received from the other application. The permissible values for tally request tag is the import, export and execute. So these are the tag values that are permissible. So this is how it looks like. So currently it says tally request export, which means tally has to export some data. Then we have the description of each value of tally request. Import is specified when we want tally to import data from XML. So if tally has to import data, you need to write tally request import. A request is made to import the data, which can be specified within the subsequent tags. So what exactly you would want to import can be checked with the other subsequent tags that are there in the header tag. So this is how this request will look like. So header has a version tag, has a tally request. Now when you talk about being import, or you say tally request, say for an import or an export, it is important to understand what you exactly need to do. Then we have the tag request value export. This is specified when we want to retrieve data from tally. A request to tally can be made to export data, collection, object and functions. This is how an export tag would look like. Then we have the execute value. It is specified when we want to execute some TDL action in Tally.ERP 9. The request is made to execute TDL action, which can be specified within the type tag. So this is how it looks. Currently, we have only one TDL action that is available, and that is sync. So this is the type of request action. When you say import, it sets requesting recipient to import the data. So when you say in tally request import, tally is all set ready to import the data. When you write tally request export, it is all set to export the data. And when you say execute, it is all set to execute the TDL action. The type header tag provides the type of information that is being requested or being responded. The tag tally request determines the value of this tag. Now when you say what you write at tally request tag is based on what this tag will have values, and the values that are allowed here are data. So data for request or response, collection for request or response, object for request or response, action that needs to be performed by the message recipient, or function that requests to execute the function that is required. So this is how we are writing. So right now the example is to export a report from Tally. So that is a data that we require from Tally. Hence the type is data. ID tag provides the identification of the report. Now at the Tally request you have said export. Fine. So what do you would like to export? A data. But what data? Then that is what this ID will identify. Now what kind of request it would be is what this tag will accept the value. The type attribute of this tag can be used to identify specific instances of the entity. So if we are trying to export a particular ledger, we can provide the name of the ledger. So an identification can be provided. Now what is the relationship between the tags? One, when you talk about Tally request, it specifies the type of request that you would like to do. Like you would like to import the data, you would like to export the data, you would like to execute an action. Based on that, the type of request specified in the request tag, the type tag will act based on that. So what is your Tally request? Based on that tag will act on. An ID tag acts based on the value specified in the type tag. So the entire dependency of the further execution of the tags are dependent on the Tally request. If the what is the value specified at Tally request tag is based on which the type tag will act on, and based on what is specified at the type, ID tag will act upon. So these are completely in sync with each other, and this is one of the example of relationship. You can ask a simple question: Tally request, what do you want Tally to do? Export. Export what? Data. Okay, which data? Trial balance data. So here ID is the name of a report that exists in Tally. Status tag is applicable only for responses. Value within this tag indicates whether it's a success or a failure when the request was made. Possible values would be 1 or 0. 1 identifies it to be success and 0 identifies to be a failure. And then we now discuss about the body tags. We had discussed just few minutes back that the body tags has two sections. One is the description section and the other is the data section. The description tag is specially for providing the description of the request, and data tag is for data required for the request. When the description tags are provided, in this description tag you can provide various descriptions in this tag. For example, the static variable, the repeat variables, the compute list, fetch list, function param list, and the TDL that you require. So the description will actually provide a complete detailed description of the request or the response tags. Then we have the data tag, which contains the actual data being transferred from one system to another. So in the previous example that we saw, where we were trying to export a trial balance from Tally, the entire data of trial balance will be within this data tag. We would just discuss a few tags in the description tag under body tag. So let's not just get confused. So on the top we have envelope tag, which has header and body. Now we're discussing about the body tag. Again, the body tag has two sections, the description section and the data section. Right now we're discussing about the description section. In the description tag, we have the static variable. This tag provides all configuration details of the global variables and the values that based on which the entire report or the data that is required will be acting upon. So all the configurations required will be specified within this particular variable tag. All the tags inside the static variables would be any of the system variables. As you can look at the given XML, the static variable is being defined inside static variable tag. Here SV current company, SV from date and SV to date are the system variables from the Tally system. Now repeat variables tag. It is used to specify the details for all the repeated variable information such as date range, block range, etc. All the information related to the repeated variables will be enclosed within the tag repeat set. So in the current given example, the SV from date and SV to date are under repeat set tag. It means that the report that we would be receiving would be based on the period. So the variables that it will repeat on will be based on your SV from date and SV to date. Now the fetch list tag. It is used to specify the list of storages to be fetched. In case of type object, the tag type object, the methods that needs to be retrieved within the fetch list tag has to be mentioned using the fetch tag. In the following example that you can see, the TB-BAL closing, TBAL opening, STKCL balance and STKOP balance are the methods of the object to be fetched. Now comes the func param list tag. It is used to specify the parameters for the function execution. In the time of using the function as a type with parameters, then the parameter list will come under the param list tag. The structure is as shown on the screen. Function param list, param is a tag and parameter param first tag and second tag. Please note param is not mandatory for every function. Depending on the number of parameters the function takes, this tag may exist or may not exist. Now the TDL tag. It is used to specify the TDL related information. TDL tag is specified when report, collection, object or function is to be sent as a request to Tally, and Tally application will respond depending on the TDL request. So a TDL specification is required only when the TDL required for serving the request does not exist at Tally. There is a huge list of reports, collections, objects and functions given by the Tally platform and the Tally TDL, the default TDL of Tally. However, this tag will come into existence if and only if the required TDL or the required data is not specified. So at that given point of time is when TDL will come into picture. If it exists at Tally, and you need not have to create this tag. So this is an example where we are creating an entire new TDL, where we are sending a message to create a report, form, path, line and fields, where we are just going to show welcome to the world of Tally. So it's just a simple report that we are trying to display here. The TDL tag is important when we want to fetch data from Tally where report is not present in Tally. In this case, it is very important to understand what should be the values of the header tag. Like example, should be the Tally request, or the type, or the ID. In the earlier example, the value of the Tally request was export. Let me just show you once again. This is the TDL that we are trying to send. The Tally request here is export and the type would be the data. The ID would be my TDL report. This report name should come inside the tag report within the TDL tag. So that is what we have done. So a TDL request should be enclosed within TDL tags. The TDL message tag is mandatory inside the TDL tag, and inside that we will write all the definitions and its attributes to define our TDL. In case of report specification in TDL, you can see Tally request is export, type is data, and ID is my TDL report. The TDL message tag specification following is the example of that report tag. So this is how it will look like. So this is the header tag and this would be the body tag for TDL message. Now coming to the discussion on the collection specifications in TDL. At the header, it is necessary to mention Tally request as export. Type would be collection and ID would be the collection name. So ID, when you mention in this ID, you will have to mention the name of your collection. This collection name should come inside the tag collection within your TDL tag. So TDL tag, TDL message tag and your collection tag, the creation of your collection as TDL. Coming to the object specification in the TDL, this is the template value of the Tally request where the tally request would be export and type is object. Specifying the value of ID is the object name, so you need to provide the object identifier. This object name should come inside the tag object within the TDL tag. So as seen in the examples earlier, we had seen that we have an request of tally export and the type as collection and the ID was the collection name, and then under the TDL tag in the TDL message we have given the collection description. Similarly we can give for object. And the function specification in TDL, as you can see in the template, the tally request is the export, type is function, and ID is the name of the function. Again, this function tag has to come inside the TDL tag. Now we'll discuss about the body tag, that is the second part of the body tag, the second section of the body tag, that is the data tag. Data tag contains the actual data that is being transferred from one system to another. If the information is retrieved, then the data will be obtained inside the data tag. So in this example, a request is being sent to Tally for creating a ledger under the bank account with the opening balance 13,500. So this is one bank account, a ledger creation that we are trying to do. Data, tally, message, ledger action is equal to create, name ICICI test, parent bank account, opening balance 13,500. So this is the data tag. So now we at least have some clear idea on exporting of the tags. So let us just create let us export a data and see, or let us just do one case study of creating a ledger. So we will just create one XML. To do so, we'll create it into a notepad. Create ledger. It requires envelope. Envelope is the first header, is the beginning tag. Then we create the header. Header should have version. So version tag closed. Then the tally request. So we are trying to import. What are we trying to do? Import type data. And which report? So ID or masters. And here closes our header tag. Simple. Now we have the body tag. And since we are going to create a data for creation of ledger, so body tag has data tag, which has a tally message, here we'll say ledger. Okay, so what do we want to do with ledger? Action is equal to create. So we want to create. So when you say we want to create, you need name, and we'll give ICICI test, close name, important parent, because in default tally anything without parent does not exist, bank accounts, and opening balance, $14,500, and then we close the ledger tag and the tally message, and the data tag, and body, and envelope. Close. This is the notepad that we have created. Now you can execute this notepad, and we'll do one thing, we'll just save it as .xml. In Tally Developer Tools, we have provided Tally Connector. So before we do that, we can just check with the URL HTTP. So we'll just check with the http://localhost : and our port number is 9000. Just let us check whether the Tally.ERP 9 response is running. We'll load our request, and our request is under here. So here we have the envelope and header tags and everything. Just let us just try to load the request. Execute the request. Click on go. It says version 1, status 0. It says description not found. So that is the description tag, what we haven't mentioned in the body. So that's what is missing. You see, this is how it gives you the failure response. Let us rectify our XML, and we need to add the description. See, by default, when you try to import any data into Tally, import of masters, you have an option whether it's a, you want to do a duplicate or overwrite, or so. When you go to Tally, import of masters, you give the file name, and you have this behavior option. So this is what you will have to set at your description tag. So that's what we have done here now. So at our description tag, And now we try to just check with that. Just go once again. We'll just have to reload this. And now we say go. Status 1, created 1, altered 0. You notice this? So now when we go to Tally, accounts info, ledger, alter, ICICI, test. The ledger is created under bank accounts and the opening balance 13,500. That's simple to create an XML request. Now just let us consider different scenarios to understand the request and response XML structure. In this case study, we discussed about a scenario which will help us to understand the request and response XML structure. So this was one of the scenarios that we just saw. We have the export of data, which helps us when this request is to export the data, and then we get the corresponding response. Request to export different TDL components and the corresponding response. Then for import, we'll see request to import data and the corresponding response. And for execute, we'll see request to execute action and the corresponding response. So starting with the request case study to export data and the corresponding response. Tags that are used for sending request to export data from Tally.ERP 9. We require a header, tag Tally request, tag type, tag ID. At the body we require the description and the data. So we'll just have the XML for this. So we'll call for the trial balance. We'll just load the request for trial balance. So here you can see header, request is Tally export, type is data, ID is balance, body is having description, and all it says or talks about is the exploded flag, yes, and the SP format is XML. That's all what we have done. So this is a request to export the data from Tally where report exists in Tally, and we simply click on go. So as soon as you click on go, the response would be as below. It's a huge list of all the groups and its sub-accounts and its balances. So this is how the XML response is required. You can save this XML response in case you need this, and you can further use this. This is what we have done, where the export of data is done and the corresponding request, where the required report exists in default Tally. So this is what we did. This is where the report existed in Tally. We've received this response. Now we will go to a scenario where report does not exist in Tally. So for that, a report for a payable in a period format. This is an assumption that what we require is not existing in Tally. So an assumption here is that the report does not exist in Tally. So we have created a file where we want to fetch for all the sales vouchers. Understanding this collection does not exist in default Tally, as an assumption is made. Type is collection, ID is sales voucher, TDL message with the collection name, type voucher with a filter value OP-BAL filter, and the fetched list of for the collection. System formulae that the voucher type has to be of type sales, close TDL messages, and just let us go. And you see status is 1, so we have received the report that we need here, the collection with all the vouchers of the collection. Simple. Request to export other TDL components and the corresponding responses. So we just saw the collection. We can do it with the object, we can do it with function also. For object, we just saw about the collection. For object, we require tally request tag, and that should contain export. Type must contain object and must contain the subtype. Now, when you say the type is object and you give the identifier as ABCD, now which ABCD, whether it's a stock item ABCD or whether it's a ledger ABCD, the application will not be able to identify that. Hence, a subtype is required in the scenarios where we would be specifying the object type. And then provide the identifier. So what we can do is we can have the requesters that we have, and you can provide the object as type as object, subtype as ledger, and at the ID you can provide the name of the ledger, and then call for whatever values you require. At the body tag you need description, so like the settings of the XML, like for company name or anything that of the static variable types. Then you would require the fetch list under the fetch tag, because when you're calling an object you need to call its methods, so we'll require that fetch list tags. In case of external formulas, if any, it should be specified under the local formula, which should be under the object tag. All the local formula will be dependent on the local and the global formulas. So this is how it will look like. So here is an assumption that we want to call the value of our ledger object, which is of name cash, SV current company, that's the company name. Then the format type we want XML, we can have the from and to date and the evaluation methods and everything, and we have the fetch list with the methods to be fetched. So type object, subtype ledger, ID type is name, and the name of that is cash. And so when you click go, you will get the name, that is cash, the parent, that is the current asset, and the closing balance of the cash ledger. Then collection, we need the header, tally request has to be export, type has to be collection, and ID should be the name of the collection. At the body we require a description and the collection declared within the header tag type must be defined in the TDL message. So that's what we did. We mentioned our collection name and we provided its tag details. All the TDL collection attributes must be specified as the tags and their respective values, because any important thing for a collection is its type, which should be specified, without which it cannot fetch the required values. Function without parameters. Header tally request must contain export. Type must contain function, and tag ID should contain the name of the function, which is going to be described within the description tag. Function tag, this is how it will look like. So when you provide the function name and you provide the ID, it will return the number of stock items within that company. And at the body tag, tag description can contain settings like company, format and other things where you want to just set a particular company name. Now when the function is with the parameters, header and body, this is how it will look like. So the top, we will provide tally request as export, type as function, ID as the function name, then we will have the body. In the description, we will have the func param list as the main tag, under which we will have the param tags, which means it will depend upon how many parameters are allowed by that particular tag. So if this function allows 2 parameters, then this function param list will have 2 param tags. And in case, well, TDL message is not mandatory, but since we have a system formula, we have provided a TDL message. Now the case studies for the import, where we will import objects either of the master or the voucher type. So tags used for sending requests to import data into Tally.ERP 9 are the header tag that contains tag request type as import, tag type must contain data, and ID should contain the import TDL reports name, that is either masters or vouchers. The body tag further should contain the description tag and the data tag. The description tag can contain report settings like the company name, behavior of the import in case of duplicate records found in Tally database. The data contains the XML data fragment within the tag Tally message that needs to be imported. Now we'll see the XML which creates ledger masters into the Tally database. So this is what we did. Let me just show you the text once again that we have created for ledger. So right click, edit. This is the report that we have created. In the XML that you can see, the action that we have provided within the Tally message is create. Any of the system formulas that you have mentioned, if not exist in the Tally database, will have to be mentioned here. The behavior of the treatment of this action has to be mentioned here. So this is for duplicating, this is to combine in case of duplicate. So you can change this based on your requirements. So if there is a ICICI test already existing in the current database and with having some opening balance of 500, the opening balance that you will see will become 14,000. Similar, this is for combining the duplicate. Again, we have formulas to specify like modify the existing one, so that will become 13,500, and if it is already existing it will be ignored. So there are three system formulas available for each behavior. There is one formula, dupe modify, which specifies that the current opening balance should be modified with the new one that is imported. Dupe ignore combine specifies that the ledger, if exists, needs to be ignored. Dupe combine specifies the system to combine both the opening balance. Ideally, this option is used when data pertaining to group companies are merged together into a single company. However, it is better to specify it in even if it is a single company, so that in any scenarios, if there is a ledger master which already, in case of any scenarios where masters you're trying to import already exist, you know what is going to process further. So we'll just now import a group master into Tally database. So as you can see, this is the XML request we have sent to create our group called Kolkata debtors, and the parent is East debtors. And the moment we click on go, this is what we get as a response. And we can check this. Accounts info, groups, alter, Kolkata debtors, and you can see that the group is being created. Then response received after importing data into Tally database. So this is the response we have. It gives you the details of each and everything, the version, the status, the import created, whether it's altered, last modified, cancelled, the description details that there was just one group that got created, rest all the masters are imported are 0. So this is what we start. Alteration of ledgers that already exist in Tally database. So simple, we just go to our existing, we have this for create, we'll just save file, save as, and we'll say for alter, we will alter a ledger, and here this is where we will require a change. One, the action will be here alter, and since it is already existing, the name will be specified. The name of this ledger will be specified just with the opening tag. So this will be the tag equals so this is now the name, and we will change this name to ICICI Bank and / name. We don't want to change the parent or the opening balance. So we're just changing the name, and we'll just reload this. Load request, alter XML, click on go, status 1, created 0, altered 0. So let us just check. Accounts info, ledgers, alter, ICICI Bank. So from ICICI test, it has become ICICI Bank, and all the details will be mentioned here. So there was one group and one ledger that has been impacted. Then importing of vouchers, very simple. And request action, execute action. As we discussed, tags was sending a request to execute an action from Tally.ERP 9. The Tally request should be execute. Tag type should be TDL, and ID should be the name of the TDL action. Currently, we have only one action available, that is the sync action. That is the only action that we have today, which has no parameters as of now. So that's the only action that we have today. So this is how this TDL will, this XML request will look like. Envelope, header, version 1 and the execute TDL. So a quick recap: Tally interfaces for integration. Then we have the XML messaging formats. Then we saw about the significance of XML tags and few case studies using the XML. The generation of XML, very simple. And that's for the XML formats. Thank you. For further queries, do contact our support desk at support.tallydeveloper@tallysolutions.com.